Today we're going to be talking about restoring rusty parts. Now if you remember in a previous episode where I pulled the Moto Compo down, we found lots of rusty parts. This episode we are going to be concentrating on one of the rustiest parts, namely the fuel tank. If you remember, the fuel tank looked a little bit like this. That is the actual fuel tank in all of its rusty, disgusting glory. Here is the same fuel tank here before me, fully repaired, painted, ready for service, looks like brand new. I'm going to take you through all the steps that I took to turn that rusted fuel tank into this fuel tank here. Now, I used the same steps to turn all the other rusty parts into brand new parts again as well. To my right or to your left of screen, here are the rest of the rusty parts. We've got the frame, we've got the wheels, we've got the forks, and we've got a few other little pieces down in front as well. We did exactly the same process, and you can follow along at home and do the same thing as well. Sit down, strap in, let's go. Alright, once you pull that fuel tank from its bath of citric acid where it's been soaking for 2 days, you saw me giving it a bit of a scrub with some wire brushes and then a hose off. The fuel tank pretty much looks like this. Now that is a massive improvement. A bit of a close-up look at it and you can see it is a much better result. There is still a little bit of rust around the fuel tank filler, but it's not too bad. Now, if we show you what that fuel tank looked before in that photo just here, that's a pretty good comparison, right? Most of the rust has already gone, but we're not quite there yet. Another 2 days and I think this thing's gonna come up looking absolute sweet. So we'll chuck it back in the bath.
2 days later.
Every day it gets a little bit better and that rust diminishes just a little bit more. So this will go back in the acid bath probably, I'm guessing, another 1 to 2 days. From there it will be ready to do the repairs. And by repairs again, those little holes that we see just there, we'll have to fix them up. Just before I put it back in the acid bath, I'm just going to hit it a bit with that wire wheel and hopefully it's just going to give it the kick in the ass it needs. That maybe we'll only need one more dip. Back in the bath one more time.
The next day.
We've pulled the Moto Compo fuel tank from the bath of citric acid for the last time. From here we'll start to prep it for paint and do our repairs on the little rust holes that are down in this area here. So you'll notice when it comes out of the tank it does have this black coating on it, but if we rub it with our fingers, that coating does come off. It kind of does protect it. But from here we'll start again with the wire brushes and the Scotch Brite pad, and we will clean it all up, ready to do our repairs. The little Moto Compo fuel tank has spent one more day in the citric acid bath, and here we are. What a result. This thing absolutely looks fantastic now. It's looking like a damn good tank. Now, considering I was prepared to throw this away if I could have got a new one, it just goes to show with a little bit of effort and a lot of help from citric acid, you can get really good results. Now, the most impressive thing of this is the citric acid hasn't harmed the good metal at all. All it has done is eaten away at that rust and help remove a bit of the paint. So from here we still have to do a little bit more work on this little fuel tank. We still have to weld up these two little holes right there, and then we're going to put a bit more work in and seal the tank so it's good to take fuel. Alright, very, very important safety information when welding fuel tanks. For those that don't know, just in case you don't, I'm assuming you don't. Welding a tank is extremely dangerous if it's had fuel in it. Now, this tank hasn't had fuel in it for decades. Submerging it in that acidic bath would have destroyed any fuel that's in it. This one is safe to weld. But if you're welding a fresh tank at home, probably get an expert to do it, because it probably will explode. The vapor is still left inside. You can do it, just look up how to do it safely before you attempt to do this. Alright, so this is what we're left with now. Now, I think you could agree that that is a very good result considering what we started with. I'll put a photo up on the screen of what we started with to what we have now, and this tank, all but a few tiny little rust holes here, looks pretty damn decent. If it wasn't for those rust holes, I could go ahead and get this painted and it would be good to rock and roll from here. But there is still a little bit of work to do. So from here, get a nice clean rag. This is Prepsol or wax and grease remover, just to give it a good clean. And then from there we're going to put some rust converter or a treatment on the metal, just so it protects it while we start welding it. Very important, obviously, not to touch it with your bare hands, because the oils in your skin will transfer into the metal and the rust will start all over again. But as it is now, it is perfectly clean. Now, even though it is a very mild acid, it will of course flash rust like it does with normal acid. It's just not as quick, so you will start to see that yellow discoloration the longer you leave it out exposed. So you want to get it dry, you want to get the water off it, and then you want to treat it with a rust preventative and allow that to do its job.
So shake this up. You can see, just a rust converter. We call it deoxidine in the trade. And just start applying that to it.
Now, this stuff is corrosive. Try not to get it on your skin, in your eyes. If you have little cuts, this stuff will burn. Now, you know when deoxidine or this rust converter stuff is working, because it sends the metal this nice blue purple color. If it sends it yellow, you need to do it again. But This nice purple color is what we are aiming for. Okay, quick updates. The welding the holes, just trying to fill them up, has been a complete failure. The metal's just too thin, and no matter how little I do it, I keep blowing through, so we're going to have to patch it up. So I've made a template out of tape. I'm going to cut that template out and then transfer it to a clean piece of steel, and then cut that steel out, then cut out the tank, shape the steel, and then hopefully we're good to rock and roll. Here is my little metal coupon that I've cut out. This will become our rust patch. From here I've just got to put some shape across it to match the contour of the tank, and from there hopefully we can start cutting the tank out and weld this bad boy in. Righto guys, I'm finished making the patch plate, and I've got to say it's looking pretty good. So from here what we have to do is trace around it, then cut out the hole in the tank. Now it's very important to cut out on the inside of the hole, not on the outside of the hole. Right, here is my little patch plate that I have fabbed up. It fits pretty good. From here on, all I have to do is give it a weld, and hopefully we can call this done. Fingers crossed. Finally, the patch has been welded in. It's been a bit of a mission, I must be honest. The metal is quite thin, and it did pose a lot of problems, but it's in there, it's welded. It did take a long time, and I did blow a lot of holes. From here I'm just going to put a bit of filler in it to smooth it all out, and then we'll treat the inside of the tank and then get the whole thing, once that's done, finally ready to paint. Alright guys, we are finished now with the fuel tank, and it is looking absolutely spectacular. Check that out. Compared to what it started with and what it looks like now, it basically looks like a brand new fuel tank, albeit with a small repair there in the corner where we had those two tiny holes. Now to do it, we put it in the bath of citric acid for about a week. We pulled it out a couple of times, gave it a bit of a scrub, then dunked it back in. Now the last step was a KBS fuel tank repair kit. I'll put a photo up above the fuel tank right here. But what it does is it cleans out the rest of the tank inside, any rust that you can't see, gives it a good scrub, and then it puts like a little fuel tank liner in it. I won't go through too much on how it looks, but I will give you a look at what the fuel tank looks like inside, and I can tell you, you've got to agree, that looks like it's pretty much brand new. Now this stuff is fuel retardant, as in the fuel or any kind of solvent will not eat through it, so it is there for life, and it should see this fuel tank through for hopefully another 42 years. Okay guys, once you've done all the repairs on the outside of your fuel tank and you are ready to go, it's time to look at doing the inside of the fuel tank. Now to do that, you're going to want a kit like this. There are several brands, but this one is a KBS fuel tank repair kit. I'm not going to go through all the process start to finish on how to do it, because there's plenty of other videos online exactly how to do that, but I will show you the process very briefly. Inside it you have this. It is a aqua clean. It cleans the inside of the tank. Then you have this rust blast. This cleans off any scale and rust within the tank as well. And then your final process is this tank sealer. It's like a silver paint, and it puts like a little bladder inside the tank and fully seals it up. It is fuel safe, as in the fuel will not eat into it and degrade it over time. They reckon it's good for pretty much all fuel except for ethanol. We're not using ethanol, so that doesn't matter. Now what it looks like inside your tank, I'll put a video up right here. You can see inside the tank and how it looks. And to put that into more perspective, this is the stuff right here. This leaked out on the floor, so I kept it for the video. It is kind of flexible. It's rubbery, pretty much just like a bladder. It's silver in color. Now this stuff will not degrade. Nothing, they say nothing will eat it away or clean it off. No, it is fully solvent proof. So don't get it on your clothes like I did, or in your hair, because it was very difficult to get out. Anyway, now that we've got that done, time to send the parts away for paint. Now behind me I've got all the other parts that we put in the bath of citric acid, and we are pretty much ready to send them away and get them all painted now. So I'll give you a bit of a look. Now that everything's ready for paint, that's the end of this episode. If you've got some rusty parts, dunk them in a bath of citric acid. There's no need to get everything sandblasted. It is something that you could do at home. It is very cheap. It just takes a little bit of elbow grease to get it done nicely. Guys, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, leave a comment if you guys have done something similar to this, and see you on the next video. Cheers.